Here we have the interior of my Hori Fighting Stick VX. And what I did for this mod was, as you can see, the wire is a little sloppy right now. I had to disassemble it for this video. But as you can see, I have screw-in buttons, 30mm, and as you can see, it's a very tight fit. You probably have about 2 or 3 millimeters in between the screws that hold the button on. It's a very tight fit, however they do fit. And let's take a look over here. I wanted to showcase the PCB before anything else. What I did for this install was I actually soldered the wires for the buttons and the JLS to the back of the PCB. And the reason for this is, I have many reasons, but primarily it allows you to keep your stock configuration if you ever wanted to revert back to it, and it also you can prevent splicing these ribbons that come with the Hori that you probably can't find anywhere else. So it saves your ribbons, and it's also a slightly better mod to do it manually if you know how. For those of you worried about soldering, it's not hard, about maybe 5 to 6 millimeters in width to solder, as long as you use the correct soldering iron and common sense. You should be good to go. You can have no worries about damaging anything. I noticed a lot of people online was actually worried about damaging the PCB with soldering because they didn't know how to get the wire for the JLS harness to fit. So yeah, as long as you use, I recommend the least amount of wattage possible for your soldering iron. So I'd say about a 15 watt soldering iron should do the trick. And that's what I use personally. Right there, 25 watt over there. Plan let me use. I usually deal with electronic components, so the lower the wattage, the better. It takes a little more time to heat up the solder in most cases, depending on what you're working on. But you definitely want to use a lower wattage if you're not familiar with soldering and you don't want to damage anything. And also another note that could save you a little bit of time, give you a little cleaner install. When installing quick disconnects, I usually solder the buttons. Depending, I don't really have an issue with replacing buttons. But what you want to do with the quick disconnect, you would want to notice how I have these. Most of these, you can see the wires. Most of these are installed down, up, down, up, down, up configuration. So down, down on the bottom, and they're all down. The first pin, or the first pin on the clip, or on the switch, I guess you could say the tube of the chip, is down. When installing quick disconnects, what you want to do is, I personally recommend you have down, and then this one will be up. So instead of having down, down, this will be down, up, kind of how you see it here, except the up will be on this side, and this side will be down. The reason for this is, it actually, once you install them, if you see right here, you can see how close these disconnects are to each other. Once you install the case, you'll have to push down the disconnects in order to fit the disconnects within the case. And screw on the bottom panel. So that's one little thing I recommend. And also, back to the PCB. The screws that actually hold on the PCB, let's see if I can get one here. If you look at it, you can't really see it, but let me see if I can focus it. They're not really meant to be taken off. So once you take it off, it could potentially strip the screw, because I don't think it was really meant for the PCB to be removed. So what I did is I borrowed a screw from this panel, borrowed one of those, and I didn't feel comfortable with putting the screws back on, because once you strip a screw, you have to go through hell in order to get it off. So Take a screw from here, anywhere up there. Just don't take them from the same area. Take one from like this end and one from another end, and then you can screw it on to the PCB. Here's the stick when it's assembled. As you can see, the PCB is in place, and you can see that the wires are soldered for the JLF harness. Soldered to the JLF and the PCB. Everything else is intact. Just a little loop right there. You tighten that up. And also, you see the harness. The harness isn't present, but that's for the daughter. That's for the stock Hori stick harness, and then that's the wire for the PCB daughter board, which is actually located. I can get it for you guys. Here. Sorry about that. I lost the image. And this is what it looks like. So the ribbon actually goes into here. So with this mod, you get to keep everything intact, and if you ever want to go back to the regular buttons, you can do so. This is what it looks like. And be careful when you're desoldering the buttons, because if you don't or if you don't take enough solder off and you try to take off the button, you can actually break the button. So if you want to keep your stock configuration, you can break the switch if you don't, because the solder will be stuck to it. And these things, the way they're actually, it's actually one piece. The switch is one piece, so if you pull it off and there's too much solder, you'll break the actual button. So just a fair warning. But it's the PCB. The JLF is installed. As you can see, what you have to do in order to install this JLF properly into this stick is you have to actually drill holes into the restrictor plate so that you can actually screw it down at the switch. So it's actually the switch that'll be holding on the stick. If you look at it from this side, you can see that the screw goes below the surface of the restrictor plate. And how you do this is you take about a 1/4 inch drill, and then you just drill it out with a 1/4 inch drill bit. So the size of 1/4 inch that I use works perfectly. And then you can see on this one, it's very close. On this side, it'll be very close to the edge of the plastic. So be careful not to put a hole into the plastic. It doesn't really matter if you do or not. You can actually chop out a piece of the restrictor plate if you need it to. So it's nothing to worry about. But that's my configuration. Hori VX Fighting Stick for Xbox 360.